Hey gang, today we're having a look at this knife, the YSTART JIN01. So this is a super low budget knife. It costs about $13, so it's very, very cheap. 13 Australian dollars it was, probably an extra, I think it was $7. It was maybe, no, actually I think it was another $10 shipping for me here in Australia, but I think elsewhere I think it's pretty much free shipping in a lot of places. I got this from GearBest, so I didn't get it from GearBest for free though. I thought I'd go with the actual user experience using GearBest, and I'm glad I did because it's interesting. GearBest are one of those companies that if you have a YouTube channel, you can say to them, hey, can you send me a couple of things to review, and they will just do that. About a year and a half ago, or a year ago, anyway, I got two Ganzo knives like offered from them. And they were here like within a week. It was like crazy fast. They used like the Swedish Express Post or something. I was like, whoa. So I got these two pretty decent-ish budget Ganzo knives to review, back to sort of keep my sort of channel going. They were okay. I think I gave one away, and the other one I bent the tip on or something like that, and I just keep it in my shed as a beta knife. Anyway, so this is kind of the same sort of thing, but it's even cheaper than a Ganzo knife. YSTART are like definitely just one of those same factories that are churning out all these Chinese knives, but they've got a couple of things different to them. Mainly, they have a different batch of designs. Now, this knife here is more or less the same identical design pointed out by one of my viewers as a Boker knife, which I'll show on screen now. So Boker makes a lot of their knives at these Chinese factories, and it's interesting, the Boker knife is in 440A and it's identical. Like, this has got different color handles, but it is pretty much the same thing. This is called the JIN01, badged by YSTART. It's a whole murky sort of area, but this was from GearBest, which I guess is the most somewhat official way of buying from these sort of companies. So anyway, I ordered it from GearBest, and just as a usual customer, I didn't say who I was. My order got placed at the beginning of August. At the beginning of September, a whole month later, it got acknowledged that it was being sent. And then on September the 21st, it arrived here finally. So after about another 3 weeks, which the 3 weeks is fine, I guess, like international shipping, whatever. It was a month before, so 2 months from ordering the knife to getting the knife. I thought I'd cover that with you because I'm not sure how many YouTube reviews you see of these types of knives are actually from people who've bought them as customers. So just note that, because that was my experience as someone going into it without sort of any YouTube frills or sauce that you get when you're a reviewer. So anyway, so that was a bit of a bummer. But what I'm going to do now, I've had a very mixed experience with this knife. I'm going to go through the good things about the knife, then I'm going to go through the bad things about the knife. And I probably am going to destroy this knife a little bit, verbally at the very least. So, the good things about the knife are that it is undeniably well built and put together. They've got good tolerances, their machines are dialed in properly, there's no amateur problems like wonky locks, or the centering is pretty good, centering is more or less bang on, pretty well done knife. It's got a decent handle made of sculpted G10, so that's pretty good value there. Often you get slab G10 in the cheaper knives, so sculpted G10 here. And overall it's a pretty good looking knife as well, I would say. It's got, you know, a sensible blade shape with a good full flat grind. It's a little bit thicker than you might prefer, but it's kind of going for that sort of hard use folding sheath knife, I'm guessing anyway. Because yeah, as you can see, there is no clip. So overall, the design, it's good looking. It's got a nice spare neutral handle that's pretty comfortable in the hand. There's a couple of weird sections of useless jimping, which are just sort of ridged, wavy parts of the metal, more for aesthetics than anything. But yeah, overall, it's pretty comfortable in the hand, and the lockup is good. Overall, bare bones, it's a well put together knife. So that's the good thing about it. It's a well put together knife for, you know, what's going to end up being about 20 Australian dollars once you get it to your door eventually. So if you are just someone who's purely pragmatic and you just want knife, I want sharp knife, it comes pretty sharp, I want a bunch of them to put all over the place, then this is probably one of the cheaper ways to do that and still get quality without having to go, you know, to complete bargain basement levels, you know, where they start to become just garbage. So yeah, that's the good thing about it. It's overall well done. Alrighty, so the bad things about this knife, I've had not the best time with it, to be honest. It's mainly coming down to, well, first up, there's no pocket clip, which is just not my cup of tea, really. Just deep carrying a heavy knife like this in the pocket, you're going to want a sheath if you're going to want to carry this knife with you every day. It's fine for keeping in a bag in a glove box, but I just prefer a pocket clip, especially on a bigger knife like this. It is just a bit big and heavy and beefy, so let's get the weight of the scales out and see how much this bad boy weighs. So it is 162 grams. So say compare that to the much bigger Spyderco Police, which is 129 grams. It is definitely a big, thick, stocky knife. Let's just compare this to the Police as well. So we'll just zoom out a tad there. So it's the Police, and that's the YSTART JIN01. Police is a big knife, but it's a much slicier knife. It's got a thinner blade. It's definitely sort of more of a focus tool. I think they're sort of thinking, what do people like, and made a knife with what people like from market trends, whereas this is just its own beast. Anyway, quite not particularly comparable knives apart from that. I just have it here, so I thought I'd show it to you. So yeah, that's the first thing I'm not super keen on. Second thing, I just don't like the shit streak diarrhea G10 color, which you just get at random when you order one. You don't get to really pick. I think it's just color match or color swap or color choose was the thing I signed up for. So yeah, I got this bloody skid mark color there, which, you know, whatever. There's probably some nice looking ones getting around. So the main thing, of course, is just the blade and the general cutting performance of the knife. So this knife is marketed on the literature as being D2 steel, and then they've gone ahead and put a stamp that says D2 on the blade. It's been, you know, it's faded away a little bit because I did a treatment in order to sufficiently compare this to another D2 knife to see if it rusted or not. And there was a couple of issues here. So if you haven't seen my previous video, which is, you know, pretty you know, conspicuously titled "Something Stinks Here," the YSTART experience or something like that. This knife does not hold an edge in my rope test anywhere near what D2 should. Even the Viper Keeper D2, which is lower hardness and dulled fairly quickly at 70 cuts. This did about like low 40 cuts through rope. And it also, when the real kicker was, when I did a rust resistance test on it, it's pretty much stainless steel, which D2 as a tool steel shouldn't be. It really didn't get any meaningful long-term rust from sitting with salt water on it for hours and hours and hours. Whereas the D2, I'll grab the Viper Keeper, it's still got marks on it that I'd have to really like deeply. Oh. Just threw it across the room. But I'd have to really deeply sort of wipe off, like sand off sort of thing. So that's kind of what D2 should do, and they're done under the same conditions with the same sort of finish and everything. So yeah, bit of a bummer there. I'm pretty sure it's not D2. Whatever steel it is as well, it just isn't good at holding an edge. So I did a fair bit of use with it, and I'll be rolling that in as I'm talking. I'm assuming future Pete will do that in editing. And yeah, I mean, I cut up a box with it, and halfway through, it's one of those things, while I was reviewing it, I had to sharpen it like 3 times. It sharpens really easily, it's great for that, but like while cutting up a box, it went super dull and almost had to like saw through the box with it. Just, you know, you can usually push cut through a decent bit of box with a VG10 knife or something, so it's definitely not D2. It's the lower end of whatever steel it is. The Boca knife that looks exactly like this is 440A, and they say it is, so it's probably just that. They're probably just saying it's D2 as just part of an overall, you know, audience grab, because I know it's like a posh, you know, fairly posh steel to be buying from China. Anyway, so that is the main stink thing on this. The blade is a bit too thick as well. You know, double that edge. It just doesn't slice that well through food or through anything really. So it's just not particularly well done as a cutting tool that you're going to use for a meaningful length of time. Just odd jobs, short jobs, quick jobs, of course, yeah, it'll probably do just fine for you. If you're using it just spontaneously, yeah, no worries at all. Another thing is the action isn't particularly good. It's not able, you need a real bit of wrist to flick it open every time. And I've taken this apart and I've done all the stuff to it. Because the good thing about knives like this, they're so cheap, you just don't care about them. So I took it apart, put it back together, put nano oil on it. You know, it's got good bushings. It's not like bronze phosphor bushings, so it's not that. It's just a little bit grimy in there or something, a little bit wonky or gritty or something. Nothing I could clean out anyway. It's still just not running optimally. When I first got it, it was really like but now it's a little bit better, a little bit. So yeah. I don't know, from the beginning with this knife, from, you know, waiting way too long to get it, to getting it and the steel pretty sure not being what they've said it's being, like, the whole thing's just been a bit, like, I don't know why you would. I mean, unless $20 is really, unless it's really hard for you, which if it is, that's cool, and yeah, I guess you find value where you find that it's still well made. But I just don't know why you would go this and not like a Spyderco Efficient. Not that that's my favorite knife, or a Spyderco Ambitious, or like if you want something big and heavy, like even a Ganzo knife of some sort. They seem to be a little bit better, or even bump up to a rake or a real steel or something like that. I mean, I just don't quite see why you'd get knocked down a step to YSTART when there's the leagues above it are, you know, quite a bit better in terms of steel choice, just better performing knives. So just my opinion, and just the thoughts I've had. It's just not made a good first impression with me. Maybe it's mainly the steel thing. Yeah, that's fair. It probably is. We'll just do some size comparisons as I wind this up. So standard Griptilian. So a Contago. Bigger knife there. This is an American Lawman. Okay, something from Zero Tolerance, why not? 0220. Similar kind of knife, I would say. It's got a pocket clip, but going for that sort of heavily built, hefty use knife from the YSTART, whoever designed this knife was. And the Spyderco Spidey Chef feels positively dainty next to this. Quite a big, beastly, hulking, heavy knife there too. Alrighty dudes, so not the best news from me with these YSTARTs. I don't know if I'll get any more of them, to be honest. As I said, the waits are long. It's not impressed me particularly, and even with me in Australia, yeah, I paid probably ended up being about $23 or something like that. I'll just save an extra 20 bucks and get a rake knife or something from Blades of Oz. It's just not to the point where I need to go this slow. And if you do, I mean, more power to you, but I think even from San Remu you get some stuff that's less deceptive at the very least. It'll just say it's 440A or 8CR 13 MOV. Not worry about the D2 business. Anyway guys, sort of the bearer of bad news on this one, but yeah, it just didn't do it for me. So I'll see you all in the next video, which hopefully will. Bye now.